Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Vice President Sara Duterte doubts that Senate President Escudero postponed her impeachment trial out of fear. Meanwhile, Malacanang says President Marcos will not interfere with the Senate proceedings.
The House of Representatives approves a 200 peso increase in the daily minimum wage of workers in the private sector.
Malacanang supports a call to hold off the PUV modernization program, but notes that it stays and only needs some tweaking.
PNP Chief Nicolas Torre III vows to uphold due process and human rights in the fight against illegal drugs.
Senator Bato de la Rosa admits initiating a resolution to dismiss the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. Here's the report.
This was Senator Bato de la Rosa's reaction when asked about the circulating draft resolution to declare the de facto dismissal of the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. Senate President Chis Escudero was quick to deny of a document of that sort filed at the upper chamber.
Walang ganong uri ng resolusyon na final o pending sa Senado sa ngayon. Ano mang kumakalat na resolusyon na wala namang author na pinakita lamang din sa akin ng media ay ika nga mere scrap of paper unless may mag-file niyan.
But several hours later, Senator Bato is singing a different tune on where the resolution came from.
Galing yun. Galing sa office ko.
The draft resolution from De La Rosa's office cites how the impeachment case started by the 19th Congress cannot cross into the next. As Senate rules state, all pending matters and proceedings shall be terminated at the end of each Congress.
Merong open patanungan, konsulta.
Tapos may nakuha na po ba kayo kung ilan ng susuporta?
Mamaya na pag sizable na yung number na sumuporta.
So far po, as we speak, mga ilan na?
Nasa draft. Kaya pinababasa ko sa kanila yung draft.
Ipafile niyo po.
Titignan ko.
The staunch Duterte ally claims there are 3 similar draft resolutions circulating at the Senate. He doesn't know where this came from, but De La Rosa says he is willing to collaborate with the other authors to come up with the best version of the dismissed resolution. Senator Amy Marcos also confirmed seeing these resolutions. So did Senator-elect Ping Lacson, who said he got a copy from a Senate insider. He also revealed that signatures are already being gathered, so the issue can be debated upon and possibly adopted if it has the support of the majority. Senator Jinggoy Estrada also received a copy of the document. In fact, he says this has been in circulation as early as Monday, but he is not changing his stance.
It is our constitutional duty to hear the impeachment case against any impeachable officer.
Senator J.V. Ejercito echoed his brother's sentiment, while outgoing Senator Coco Pimentel called the resolution's logic flawed and its constitutional references inaccurate. Other senators, meantime, had this to say about the document that would outright dismiss VP Duterte's impeachment trial. For House members who impeached Duterte, this development at the Senate is nothing but a nightmare. Something that they were afraid will happen after the presentation of the articles of impeachment was pushed back from June 2nd to June 11.
Well, something fishy, no? Gumagante. May pinoproteksyonan talaga sa nangyayaring yan.
Paasa at gaslighting ang ginagawa na sa laban sa mamamayang Pilipino. Plenary is not supreme. The people are supreme.
Vice President Sara Duterte says she does not believe Senate President Chis Escudero postponed the impeachment trial out of fear of her. Meanwhile, Malacanang maintains that President Marcos will not interfere with the Senate's handling of the proceedings. Here's a report.
Vice President Sara Duterte denied having any knowledge of efforts to have the impeachment case against her dropped. However, she acknowledged that her camp is also questioning the continuation of the proceedings into the 20th Congress.
Well, yan ma'am, kina-question din namin yan. Yung pag-crossover from the 19th to the 20th Congress. Yung lawyers ko na lang magsalita, ma'am, kasi papagalitan na naman ako nila.
Duterte also said she did not believe the process was postponed because Senate President Cheese Escudero is afraid of her.
Well, sa pagkakilala ko naman kay Senate President Cheese Escudero ay hindi natatakot yon. So we do not remember him I do not know him na natatakot na klase na politiko. So hindi ko lang alam saan nanggagaling yung sinasabi na takot si Senator Cheese Escudero.
Akbayan Party List Representative Percy Sendaño earlier claimed this was the reason for Escudero's alleged move to delay the trial. Meanwhile, Malacanang reiterated that President Bongbong Marcos will not interfere in the Senate's deliberations. Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro said the President has made it clear the matter is now in the hands of the Senate. Castro emphasized the Senate is a continuing body as recognized by the Supreme Court and that senators will decide the course of the proceedings.
Kung matuloy po o hindi matuloy ang impeachment, mukhang hindi na po yan sakop ng ating Pangulo. Ang gusto lang namin pong parating, sana po ay wag ipahid sa Pangulo kung ano man po ang magiging desisyon ng Senado dyan.
She added the President's only concern is the observance of due process and adherence to the Constitution and the law. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Now let's talk more about the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte with attorney Michael Yusinko, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Good morning. Thank you once again for joining us, Prof. and attorney.
Good morning, Angelo. Good morning, Angela. At good morning sa mga listeners and viewers of the program.
Attorney, let's start off. No? Kasi there was I'd like to bring this up. No? There was a survey that came out that a majority of Filipinos want to see the impeachment go to trial. But if you look at the surveys, mataas din ang trust rating ni VP Sara. So there's a school of thought na despite of having a high trust rating, if this does not go to trial, baka magkakaroon ng malaking backlash daw against most of the senators. What do you think of this, attorney?
It's possible, no? It's certainly possible, Angelo, na if the senators do something unconstitutional, that the people will punish them. In fact, I would say that the people should punish them. Voters should punish them for doing or for committing an unconstitutional act. So, meron talagang mangyayaring backlash kung hindi nila ituloy yung impeachment trial because the Constitution is very, very clear that an impeachment trial must be conducted. So there's no way around it eh. Buti sana kung merong pwedeng legal argument to say na pwedeng hindi ituloy yung impeachment trial. And believe me, I've been trying to look for one pero wala talaga. So hindi sila parusahan ng taong bayan kung hindi nila gampanan yung kanilang tungkulin na binigay sa kanila ng ating saligang batas.
But before Angel, attorney, kasi you said unconstitutional, no? Ang problema kasi may debate both sides about what is unconstitutional and constitutional on this issue. Well, even the frame attorney Monsod said that the mere fact that the Constitution was designed to protect the people, dapat at all times they should be accorded the opportunity. And he was saying, case in point, it only applies daw na sinasabing hindi pwede mag-crossover from 19th to 20th Congress. Is the only time na hindi pwede yon is it should be allowed because when you talking about hindi pwede, you're talking about yung mga bills that have lapsed already and legislative agendas, and this is not a legislative agenda. Is that what you're talking about, attorney, when you mean if hindi palusutin ito unconstitutional?
So yeah, that's a part of it. But let's just go down to the fundamentals of it. Very clear naman sa saligang batas that once the articles are transmitted to the Senate, they should commence trial immediately, forthwith. No? So there is no contemplation in the Constitution for the impeachment trial not to be undertaken. No? So yun ang ibig ko sabihin. If the senators now decide that for one reason or another, they will not continue the trial or they will not undertake the trial, then that decision is unconstitutional. and the people should punish them for that.
Now let's talk about the impeachment resolution to dismiss nga po the the impeachment case against VP Sara, na later on we found out na nanggaling pala sa opisina ni Senator Bato de la Rosa. What do you make of that? Pag yun po ba ay ginawa ng Senado, meron po ba tayong makikitang legal problem in that area? Meron po ba talagang part in our Constitution na pwedeng gawin ng Senado na mag-dismiss ng impeachment? Or it is really their duty na ituloy yung impeachment trial against somebody?
Yeah, Angela, so as I said earlier, there is absolutely no legal basis to dismiss the impeachment trial outright. No? Impeachment complaint outright.
Right.
In fact, the Constitution is very clear that a trial must be conducted. So yung resolution na final, or if a file, presumably if a file, that has no legal basis at all. No? And it should not be carried by the other senators. No? Because if they do, and they decide nga, no, by majority vote that they will just simply dismiss the impeachment complaint and not proceed with the trial, then that is an unconstitutional act on their part. And the people, voters in particular, should punish them for that.
Para I understand you, attorney, no matter what happens, this 19th Congress has its duty to push through with the impeachment. Now, the question on if it can be crossed over to the 20th Congress, you're saying parang it's another issue altogether, and most likely, attorney, you see this going to the Supreme Court.
Yes, that particular issue, yung crossover issue,
separate
Angelo,
yun. Separate. No?
I would admit that hindi malinaw ang Constitution doon.
Okay.
So there is no clear provision or even a hint of a ruling in the in Article 9 about that, no. But it's very clear na dapat mag-conduct ng trial ang 19th Congress, which they should have done months ago. Now, whether that will cross over to the 20th Congress, at least I am under the thinking that it should. Because the trial must continue until it is terminated by a decision.
Yeah.
So, therefore, it should carry over because, first and foremost, the impeachment responsibility is given to the Senate is not a legislative function. In other words, the rules on their legislative functions, yung sinasabi ng iba na once they adjourn finally, then that ends. No? Yun, for their lawmaking function, yun.
So, they're stating kasi yung Neri versus Senate on that particular agenda, yung continuing, hindi na daw continuing body pagdating doon. Your thoughts on that po?
I have to read that case, but there is also the other case cited by more prominent professors than I am, yung Pimentel versus Joint Committee of Congress that says that yung termination applies only to their legislative functions. No? It doesn't apply to their non-legislative functions, which the impeachment falls under. No? So, and also yung mga ibang the crossover opinion can be justified by other reasons. No? So, the fact that yung sabi nga nung isang drafter of the Constitution, the number attached to the name Congress is only a number.
Yes.
Because the Congress as an institution, in this instance, the Senate as an institution, continues, no? Hindi napuputol. So iba-iba lang yung number pertains only to the elected people, to the institution, no? So ang bottom line dito, I would say is that once the trial is commenced, and it's already commenced actually, yung technically speaking, kasi na-transmit na nga yung articles sa Senate, the only way that ends is with a decision, and therefore kahit anong Congress pa ang maabutan nun is irrelevant because
yes, that's right.
Once the trial begins, it must end by a decision, either acquittal or conviction.
Parang in some sense kasi, Attorney, si Senator Tolentino had almost the same sentiment with slightly a different twist. No? Sinasabi niya, it is their duty, no, na pag na-transmit, that kailangan nga mag-convene into an impeachment court. But he says that he does not believe that they can cross over into the 20th Congress. Kung kailangan daw nilang tapusin bago maging 20th Congress, kahit mag 24-hour court sila, gagawin nila. Pero ang isang interpretation naman ni Attorney Monsod was saying, at the end of the day, if there is a question of constitutionality with these issues, you have to look at the basic fundamental, which is the Constitution was designed to protect the people. So no matter kung anong rules ng Senate, at the end of the day, if the Supreme Court were to interpret this to protect the people, the trial must continue no matter what. Whether tapusin nyo as 19th Congress or ilipat nyo sa 20th Congress. Is that basically the gist of what you're trying to say, Attorney?
Certainly, no. So I would lean towards Attorney Monsod's view here, no? Na kumbaga, if the confusion carries and persists and it's brought to the Supreme Court for resolution, I'm confident that the Supreme Court will also be of the same view as Attorney Monsod's, no? That Article 11 of the Constitution is precisely there to protect the people, no? To hold impeachment in particular is there to hold high officials of the land accountable. No? So, yung mga excuses na ministerial and administrative, they would play second to that, no? Na hindi pwedeng sila yung manaig doon sa primary purpose ng Constitution, which is yun na nga, to protect the people and hold highest officials of the land accountable.
So paano po yun, Attorney, no? Kasi June 11 will be, sabi nila, no, yung hearing ng articles of impeachment, reading, no, ng articles of impeachment. That's June 11. And then magsisine die or mag-adjournment na sila ng June 13. So that would be 2 days lang para maasikaso yung impeachment trial against VP Sara. Di ba po ba pagkatapos na ma-hear yung or mabasa yung articles of impeachment, meron pong 10 days si VP Sara para sagutin yun. So talagang hindi nakakayanin. So in a way, parang sinasabi ni Senator Bato, wala na tayong oras. So in that way, di ba parang tama siya? Or meron pong provision doon na pwedeng paikliin yung 10 days?
So medyo complicated yung tanong, no, Angela, but let's first begin by saying that the responsibility to conduct the trial or to hear the trial is given to the institution, to the Senate. No? It doesn't matter kung sino yung nakaupo dun sa Senado at that particular time, because the responsibility is given to the institution.
That's right.
No? So in your example, no, so nagkaroon ng reading of the articles on June 11, which is part of the procedures, and then yun na nga, bibigyan ng pagkakataon yung impeached official to answer, and yung kumbaga yung trial action will commence, will begin. That will continue because the institution is doing the job, no? The institution is conducting the trial.
That's right.
Now, kung saan abutan yung proseso, meaning to say, kung halimbawa, nagkaroon na ng examination, direct examination, cross-examination, obviously, the institution cannot do that. It's the people in the institution who does that. Kung sino man yung tao na nandun, kung sino man yung senador na nandun at that particular time, siya ang gagawa nun. So, it doesn't matter kung sino yung, kumbaga, kung sino yung nakaupo. Right? Ang what matters is, at that particular time, kung sino yung nakaupo, siya ang gagawa ng trabaho. So, the 19th, 20th Congress issue there is irrelevant in the sense because it's the institution, the Senate itself,
not the people,
which is conducting or hearing the trial.
But then a question, last question. Then how about the process of swearing in of as the senators, as the judges? Kasi if it happens, hypothetically, if it happens on the 11th, you swear them in as senator judges, pero 20th Congress ang sasalo, do you have another swearing in?
Yes, of course. Because they're new senators.
New judges.
They're new judges. They will assume the position. They have to be sworn in also. So again, Angelo, these are what we call the ministerial aspects of the process.
Na burden sa Senado dapat.
Yeah. So this should not be the cause of kumbaga saying na hindi dapat matuloy.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So these are just administrative matters that can be addressed by the Senate leadership or the Senate institution themselves.
Okay.
This has no bearing at all as to the disposition of the case itself, of the impeachment case itself.
Yeah, I understand.
Very quick na lang, Attorney, before we let you go, because we don't have much time anymore. Do you also believe in what Senator Coco Pimentel is saying na prepare to be disappointed tayong mga tayong publiko na baka talagang hindi na magkaroon ng impeachment trial because of of what's happening right now?
Well, ang position ko kasi is, Angela, is hindi pwedeng hindi matuloy, no? Because the Constitution again is very clear that a trial must be conducted. Now, if the senators decide that they will not conduct the trial, then they are doing something unconstitutional. Now, you can be disappointed by that, pero ako, I would rather say na dapat parusahan natin sila. Because hindi pwedeng gawin yun, no? Hindi nila pwedeng bastusin yung saligang batas natin na ganun-ganun lang. Na dahil lang sa political aspirations nila or because of partisan alliances, sasabihin nila ang Constitution ay pwedeng isang tabi. Hindi pwede yun. Hindi dapat tayo pumapayag na ganun. So, I would be disappointed, of course, but I would more than disappointed. I'd be angry and really kumbaga sinasabihin ko na dapat parusahan natin sila.
I-impeach sila yung mga holdovers daw. Another impeachment case. Pero Attorney,
kung pwede lang.
Thank you, Attorney, but most likely we'll be talking to you again because come that time for sure we'll be looking at the gods of Padre Faura. Aabot yan, both camps will be filing, but it's going to get interesting. Thank you for joining us, Attorney Michael Yusinko, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center.
Maraming salamat din.
The House of Representatives has approved a bill seeking to mandate a 200 peso hike in the daily wage of minimum wage workers in the private sector. Here's the report.
An act providing for 200 pesos daily wage increase for the minimum wage workers in the private sector has having been approved on third reading.
Lawmakers at the House of Representatives stood and applauded as they approved the bill granting a 200 peso across-the-board daily wage increase for all minimum wage earners. House Bill 11376 covers private sector workers, including contractual, subcontractual, agricultural, and non-agricultural laborers. The measure passed with 172 votes in favor and 1 abstention. Akbayan Party List Representative Percy Sandanya hailed the approval as a major step in the decades-long struggle for a living wage.
Ang botong yes ay salbabida para sa manggagawang nalulunod sa taas ng presyo ng bilihin, taas ng presyo ng petrolyo, taas ng presyo ng tubig at taas ng presyo ng kuryente. Ang botong yes ay isang malaking good job para sa tiyaga at sakripisyo ng ating workforce. Dahil sila ang naging susi sa 5.4 GDP growth ng ating bansa noong 2024.
Gabriela Party List Representative Arlene Brosa supported it with reservations, noting her call for a 750 peso hike.
Kailangan ng bawat Pilipino ang sahod na hindi lang nakakatustos sa pang-araw-araw nilang pangangailangan, kundi sahod na makapag-aangat ng kalidad ng kanilang pamumuhay.
This is according to Ibon Foundation. A family of 5 needs at least 1,225 pesos daily to meet basic needs, yet the current average daily wage is only 470. The House version will now go to a bicameral conference committee after the Senate earlier passed its own version proposing a 100 peso wage hike. If the House version prevails, a 200 peso daily wage increase will be implemented nationwide. The Trade Union Congress of the Philippines welcomed the move and urged Malacanang to act swiftly, saying Filipino workers deserve the raise and it's time for President Marcos to approve it. For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. President Marcos has acknowledged concerns over the viability of the PUV modernization program. Palace Press Officer Attorney Claire Castro said the president agreed with Transportation Chief Vince Dizon's concerns about the program's impact on drivers and operators. Marcos stressed the need for a thorough study to ensure fair and manageable implementation for all stakeholders. Dizon earlier highlighted that a modern jeepney unit costs between 2.5 million pesos and 2.8 million pesos, with the government subsidizing only 15% of the total. Drivers currently face out-of-pocket expenses of around 40,000 pesos, while loan options for cooperatives and operators remain limited.
Nung binanggit po ito ni Secretary Dizon kay Pangulo, positibo naman po ang response ng ating Pangulo at ayaw naman din po niyang pahirapan ang mga operators at mga jeepney drivers natin kung ipupush po ito tapos parang pilit. So dapat po talagang aralin para po lahat po naman ay maging maayos ang takbo at pag-implement po ng programa na ito.
Let's get some reactions following that development.
We have Manibela Chairman Mar Valbuena joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Sir Mar. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning, Ma'am Angela, and good morning, Sir Angelo.
So yung nga po, no, yung naging pahayag po ng palasyo at maging ating DOTR Secretary Vince Dizon na hindi na daw muna parang current viable yung PUV modernization program, but it will stay. Ito-tweak lamang daw yung ng kaunti ng mga base doon sa reklamo na natatanggap po nila mula sa mga iba't ibang mga organization katulad nyo po. Your thoughts on that?
Welcome development po ito sa atin, Ma'am Angela. At nagpapasalamat tayo sa ating Pangulo at kaya Secretary Vince Dizon na napakinggan at nabusisi nila yung mga problema dito sa pagpapatupad ng PUBMP na matagal na nating sinasabi na hindi po talaga viable. Hanggat hindi po natatapos itong route rationalization na hanggang ngayon po ay hindi pa rin nangangalahati, Ma'am Angela and Sir Angelo, no, na talagang ito yung nagiging problema. Bukod pa po dyan, yung mahal na presyo ng mga modernized unit at saka po yung tinatawag natin na consolidation at pagsali sa kooperatiba, hindi po talaga ito yung sagot doon sa modernization program. Maraming mekanismo ang may loopholes talaga dito sa pagpapatupad po nito. At muli nagpapasalamat tayo sa ating Pangulo, Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.
So Mar, kumbaga para maging acceptable sa hanay nyo ito, ang magiging issue nyo is number 1, yung route rationalization nila. Number 2, yung consolidation, tapos yung presyo ng mga jeepney units. Ang mukhang ang pwedeng daw pag-aralan kasi yung route rationalization tsaka yung presyo ng units, pero mukhang yung sa consolidation daw talagang kailangan i-push yan. Ngayon kung bumaba po ang presyo, sabihin natin bumaba po ang presyo ng mga jeepney dahil sa subsidy ng gobyerno, papayag po ba kayo sa consolidation?
Alam nyo, Sir Angelo, Ma'am Angela, ito talagang consolidation ang tinututulan natin.
Okay.
Ang naging problema, ang main problem talaga, yung consolidation na kung saan ay magsasama-sama lahat ng mga stakeholders doon sa ruta. Ito po yung naging problema dahil nga po pinapatakbo lamang ito ng iilan at wala na pong karapatan na mag-suggest pa yung mga kasamahan nating mga operators. At nakita natin, ayaw lang nilang aminin, Sir Angelo, na consolidation talaga ang problema. Dahil nga po sa pagmamalabis ng mga chairman ng kooperatiba at pagsakal sa kanila at sa dami ng mga bayarin at pagpayag na lamang na hindi kinukonsulta itong mga miyembro doon sa pagpapatupad po nito.
Sinasabi niyo po consolidation ang problema na hindi kaya mahirapan po umatras na ang gobyerno regarding consolidation because siyempre titignan din nila yung iba daw na nag-consolidate, baka naman sila daw ang magalit. Na nag-comply, baka sila naman daw po ang magreklamo.
Alam niyo, Sir Angelo, nandoon na yung problema eh. Ito na nga yung solusyon na nakikita natin na bigyan din ng option o maging optional na pagsabayin na mag-operate yung mga naunang nag-avail ng mga modernized unit, which is yung mga consolidated at mga kooperatiba, and then yung mga single operator na kagaya po namin na patunayan din namin na kaya namin kahit hindi po kami sumali sa kooperatiba. Palpak na nga po, nagkandalugi-lugi na yung mga kooperatiba tapos susunod pa po kami doon. Sinabi na nga po na hindi viable tapos ipipilit pa rin yung consolidation. Dapat po yung mekanismo na yan, umahanap tayo ng ibang option katulad po nung sinasuggest natin, baka doon ay magtagumpay po tayo dito sa PUBMP.
Sir Mar, I understand na binuksan na po yung option noon pa man ng pwede pong bilhin yung mga modern jeepney na gawang Pinoy. Ang nakikita po natin dito kasi sinasabi nila yung pagdating sa loan sa bank, yung percentage na subsidiya ng gobyerno is 15% lamang. So sa tingin niyo po ba, ano yung fair na percentage na dapat ibigay na subsidiya ng gobyerno pagdating po sa pagbili ng mga modern jeepneys?
Sinasabi nga natin na maliit po yung 15%. Kasi po palaki din ng palaki yung cost o yung presyo nitong mga modernized unit. Hindi na rin po umaakma yung 15% lamang kahit po sabihin natin na itong subsidy na ito ay makakatulong pero maliit po, dapat po hindi po bababa at least 40% po na subsidy. Kung 40%. Ganyan po kamahal yung ating mga unit, maghahabol pa rin po kami ng pambayad. Dahil nga po, by monthly basis, kailangan po naming humabol doon sa kota kung magkano po ang ibabayad natin monthly. Kasi sa ngayon po, hindi po bababa ng 35,000 pesos. Saan po namin kukunin ito? Kung hindi rin naman magtataas ng pamasahe, itong LTFRB, mahihirapan po talaga kami. At ayaw din naman natin at hindi din naman papayag ang gobyerno na taas po na lang ng taas po ng pamasahe. So, ang nangyari po dito, mahal yung unit, mababa yung subsidy, walang fair increase, at sakal tayo dito, ang nangyari po, hindi po makabayad yung ating mga naunang mga kasamahan na nag-modernize. Tapos, ang tinitignan po natin dyan, 15 units po kaagad eh. Kaya po, ang purpose nitong consolidation ay para mas marami yung kukunin mo kaagad na mga modern units kapag nag-loan ka. Yun lang po talaga ang purpose nitong consolidation. At sana magbalangkas sila na kahit po hindi kami nakakonsolidate ay pwede po kaming mag-loan sa mga bangko.
Mar, itong binabanggit mong mga issue no, sa computation saka yung kung magkano yung ikalulugi nyo, and also hearing Secretary Dizon na hindi daw viable in its current form, magkakaroon ba or may nagre-reach out ba from any of the camps para mapag-usapan nyo at least ma-bring to light sa gobyerno yung kung paano kayo malulugi para siguro at least isama na sa bagong draft ng modernization program?
Opo,
okay, sir.
Yes, Mar, go ahead.
Sir Diego?
Yes, go ahead.
Sir Angelo?
Yes, Mar. Did you hear the question, Mar, or gusto niyo ulitin ko?
narinig.
May problema ata
Can you hear us okay po?
Opo, naglalag lang.
Okay.
Go
Opo,
ahead.
naririnig ko na po.
Okay.
Kagabi, magkausap po kami through messenger ni Secretary Vince Dizon at maaring next week ay makapag-dialogue po ulit kami kay Secretary.
That's good
At
naman.
may latag natin, sabi natin sa kanya, may mga solusyon tayong kailangang ilatag sa kanya.
Alright, taking this opportunity na rin, Mar, na tanungin na rin po kayo regarding dun sa isa pa po ninyong isinusulong na pinoprotesta po ninyo yung tungkol sa NCAP at saka yung sa mga EDSA rehabilitation. Nasaan na po tayo ngayon in terms of protesting it? Ano po yung mga ginagawa pa po ninyong hakbang dito?
Opo, nawawala lang po. Sorry.
Okay lang.
Go ahead po. Mar? Yan. We'll try to fix the line kasi medyo...
Opo,
yan.
Ma'am Angela. Ma'am Angela, sorry.
Go ahead po.
Go ahead, sir.
Sa ngayon po ay pinagpaplanuhan natin. Sorry at nawawala lang. Mahina ang signal, sorry.
Go ahead po.
Sa ngayon po, yung NCAP naman po, ang sinasabi natin, yung lifting nito ay para sa rehabilitation ng EDSA. So, ang tanong ko po dito sa mawalang galang nasa MMDA, bago nyo ipinatupad itong NCAP, ano na po ba ang mga hakbang na ginawa nila para maisaayos yung daloy ng trapiko at mapagaan ang biyahe ng ating mga motorista at ng mga commuters. Ang nakita lang nating development ay yung CCTV, which is tama naman na naging disiplinado yung mga motorista dahil sa sobrang cautious ng ating mga motorista, lalo pong nagbagal yung trapiko at mas lalong kailangan mong gumising ng mas maaga dahil nga po hindi na akma yung ating mga kakalsadahan dito sa volume ng ating mga sasakyan na bumibiyahe araw-araw. Mas lalo pong mas mahirap ito pagdating sa hapon dahil hindi mo naman po pwede na mas maaga kang umuwi kundi sa tamang oras. Kaya po ang nakita natin, mas humirap po yung biyahe o tumagal yung biyahe. Tama po, nandyan yung disiplina. Pero lalo hong nagkaroon ng congestion sa buong NCR kaysa po sa dati. So yung hinihingi po natin na paano ba nila mapapalawak itong mga kakalsadahan? Paano ba mas mapapabilis yung takbo ng ating mga sasakyan at nang ganun hindi naman tayo malate? Wala naman po tayong narinig na ginawang hakbang o solusyon ng MMDA patungkol po dito.
Alright, marami po tayong gustong i-discuss but unfortunately we don't have much time. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras sa Manibela, Chairman Mar Valbuena. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much po.
PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III assures the public that due process and human rights will remain at the core of police operations amid the government's intensified campaign against illegal drugs. Here's the report.
General Nicolas Torre vowed the police force's intensified campaign against illegal drugs will be carried out with strict adherence to legal standards and due process. The country's top cop also clarified his directive of more arrests. This is not a race for numbers, he says, but a call for greater diligence and efficiency. He tells police officers, make sure those who will be arrested are alive and will be able to defend themselves in court. Torre was reacting to the Commission on Human Rights concern that this marching order could lead to abuse.
Hindi lang yan para sa drugs, okay? Para yan sa lahat ng criminality. Priority, alisin ang kriminal sa kalsada. So kung may mga snatcher, tambay, mga nanggugulo dyan, hulihin natin, huwag natin pabayaan. Hulihin natin, dalhin natin sa husgado. Titigil lang tayo sa panghuhuli pag wala na tayong makitang kriminal.
Torre also welcomed CHR's reminder to avoid abuse, assuring the agency that due process remains at the heart of his anti-drug campaign.
Magtiwala po tayo sa proseso. Ito po ang nakasaad sa batas. Ito po ang susundin natin. Ito ang proteksyon ng ating human rights.
Aside from the CHR, Torre also responded to Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte's criticism of his appointment as PNP chief. The younger Duterte slammed Torre's promotion, saying it was not based on merit. Mayor Duterte also questioned how Torre managed to jump several ranks to become PNP chief.
Rewind lang ng konti sa termino naman ng tatay niya kung sino unang chief PNP. Okay? The first chief PNP of his father is a one-star na naging automatic 4-star. Did he ask that? Did he question that?
Torre was referring to former PNP chief and now Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. He also addressed Vice President Sara Duterte's remark that his appointment is quote-unquote too sketchy. VP Sara cited alleged legal violations during Torre's time as chief of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group when he served the arrest warrant on former President Rodrigo Duterte. Torre said he respects the Vice President's opinion, but findings of the Senate inquiry on the matter have already been submitted to the Ombudsman.
Again, I respect the opinion of the Vice President and the opinion of everyone regarding the things that we've done during the arrest of Mr. Duterte. The Senate committee is not a disciplinary machinery nor a court that can say if who is right and who is wrong, who is guilty and not guilty. So I think we will answer all those things in a proper forum.
For News 5 Caricator, we are One News.
Now, in other news, the NBI has paused the transfer of custody for expelled lawmaker Arnolfo Teves Jr. over possible jurisdictional conflicts. A Manila Regional Trial Court, which handles one of Teves' multiple cases, had issued a commitment order to transfer him to the Manila City Jail. But the NBI decided to hold the transfer because other courts might also issue their own orders, potentially resulting in conflicting directives. Teves was deported to the Philippines last May 29 over cases in connection to the murder of former Governor Roel Degamo. Now, in addition to that, Manila RTC Branch 12 entered a not guilty plea on behalf of former Representative Arnulfo Teves Jr. on charges of illegal possession of firearms and explosives. So this was after he invoked his right to remain silent. So yun yung update dun sa kaso niya.
Automatic yun when ayaw mag-enter ng plea ang isang akusado, the court automatically would say not guilty.
So he was there sa Manila RTC wearing bulletproof vest at saka yung helmet, the usual that we always see kapag may mga ganyan na known personalities na nagkakaroon ng pagbasa ng kanilang, ano tawag dun, sakdal. Alright, don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us.
Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The House Tri-Committee is conducting its 4th hearing on fake news. For the latest, let's bring in our mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Amy, ano na ang agenda dyan today?
Angela, well, so far nagkakadelay nga tayo sa pag-start nitong hearing for today, no? Pero abangan natin na pag-uusapan dyan yung sa Cybercrimes Act and also yung propaganda ng China patungkol nga sa West Philippine Sea. Pero bukod pa dyan, magiging agenda din for today yung mga trolls na kumakalat nga dahil nga sa pagpapalaganap daw ng fake news tungkol sa West Philippine Sea at yun nga yung bibigyan nila ng solusyon while defending the freedom of speech of the Filipinos. So, konting backgrounder lang din, no? Around 2 years ago daw talaga lumalaganap na yung pagdami, mas tumataas na yung bilang ng fake news patungkol sa West Philippine Sea. Usual argument daw dyan, Angela, no, is that wala daw legal basis ang Philippines. Pero depensa lang din naman nila, meron tayong Maritime Zones Act na nagpapatunay na sa Pilipinas nga itong West Philippine Sea. So, may 4 levels tayo of fake news peddlers according to PCG spokesperson Commodore Tariela nga. At yun nga, sabi niya, kasama dito yung mga reposters, yung mga nag-i-initiate, kasama din dito yung general public, pati na rin yung disseminators. And yun nga, medyo mahirap pigilan dahil may 4 different kinds of fake news peddlers na nangyayari dito sa Pilipinas. Angela?
Okay, sino yung mga magiging resource persons at this time? Amy?
Sorry, Angela.
Oh,
Sorry.
sino yung mga inaasahan natin magiging resource persons at this hearing?
So, abangan natin si Representative Robert Ace Barber. Siya yung tatalakay patungkol nga dito sa West Philippine Sea, pati na din sa Cybercrimes Act. So, titingnan natin kung ano nga ba yung mga mapapag-usapan dahil babalikan din natin yung mga naging hearing nung mga nakaraan, especially last month, na yun nga si PCG spokesperson, meron din siyang binanggit ng mga pangalan ng mga influencers na nagda-downgrade daw ng issue ng West Philippine Sea dito, Angela.
Yun nga yung gusto kong itanong kung meron din tayong mga kilalang known influencers or vloggers that are who are invited again today. Kasi the last time yung naging issue,
Yeah.
'di ba? Yung hindi nila pag-attend tapos nag-attend din sila eventually.
Ngayon wala, Angela, no, more on exclusive, pag-uusapan nila kung ano pa yung magiging plano nila for the fake news na nag-circulate nga around West Philippine Sea. So hindi mo na nila in-invite yung mga na-name nga na influencers patungkol dyan. Pero abangan din natin, most likely, sa susunod na sa mga susunod na araw, magkakaroon din sila ng invitation mo para dun sa mga influencers naman, Angela.
Alright, thank you so much for your time, mobile journalist Amy Atienza.
Right, in other news, one barangay in Antipolo City has converted old container vans into classrooms para bigyan ng mukha ang balita mobile journal Evan Tarinque.
Taon-taon nababalita ang kakulangan ng classroom sa Pilipinas. Kaya naman para matugunan ang problemang ito, isang barangay sa Antipolo ang nakaisip na gawing silid-aralan ang isang lumang container van. Ilang taon ng hamon sa sektor ng edukasyon ng kakulangan sa mga classroom para sa mga mag-aaral. Ayon sa Department of Education, nasa 165,000 ang kulang na classroom sa buong bansa. Sa Barangay Mayamot sa Antipolo, Rizal, ang naging solusyon ng kanilang pamuluan ang paggamit ng lumang container van bilang classroom ng mga estudyante ng Alternative Learning System o ALS.
Ganong silbi pala yung ganon na naka-jump na, at least tayo may convert natin sa classroom para at least magamit pa. At pangalawa, maging shelter ng ating mga mag-aaral lalo sa ALS.
Ang container van ay may malalaking bintana, gumaganang ventilador laban sa init at mga silyang nakahanda para sa mga estudyante. Ito ang isang container van na convert bilang classroom para sa mga ALS learners. Kaya magkasya rito ang hanggang 15 estudyante na maaaring turuan sa loob. Umaabot sa 100,000 piso ang ginastos ng barangay para sa pagkukumpuni at pag-convert ng van. Bonus pa, portable ito kaya pwedeng ilipat kung kinakailangan.
May ventilation naman, may bintana, ceiling fan, and then meron din siyang outer na bubong para pwede rin po sa labas.
Tuwing Miyerkules at Huwebes ang klase, mula alas 6 ng umaga hanggang alas 12 ng tanghali. Sa ngayon, nasa 10 na ang mga naka-enroll na ALS learners at inaasahang mas dadami pa ito. Dati kasi ay sa labas lamang sila nagkaklase. Ngayon, ay komportable na dahil may sarili na silang silid-aralan.
Imaginin mo doon ako sa court, pag umuulan, titigil na kami kasi wala naman kami bubong eh. So at least dito, focus ang mga estudyante ko.
May classroom man o wala makakapigil sa mga tao nagnanais matuto at magbahagi ng kaalaman. Basta may dedikasyon, laging may paraan. Mobile Journal Evan Tarinque po, hatid ang muka ng balita.
Oras ng Katotohanan, the flagship religious program of the Pentecostal Missionary Church of Christ in the Fourth Watch has found a new home on TV5. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho has the report.
Oras ng Katotohanan found its new home. Pentecostal Missionary Church of Christ in the Fourth Watch, Chief Executive Minister Apostle Jonathan S. Ferriol, Media 5 COO Dino Jacinto M. Lorena, TV5 CFO Pierre Paul S. Buhay, alongside TV5 President and CEO Guido R. Zaballero, attended the newest show's contract signing yesterday. According to Lorena, this partnership was built way back in 2023.
We've been in partnership with the Pentecostal Missionary Church. Since 2023, we're doing coverages of their endeavors and activities.
Upon talks of where the show should be broadcasted next,
We both found an opportunity that TV5 could be their new home. In these times of hope and when people are looking for good words, I think it's very welcome that a group like the Pentecostal Missionary Church will be partnering with us in spreading the good news of the gospel.
a religious flagship program of the Pentecostal Missionary Church of Christ in the Fourth Watch, Oras ng Katotohanan stands as a lasting legacy of Apostle Feriol's father.
Eventually, the Lord has given us grace to continue it, and so this is the reason why we're here on Channel 5, because we're going to continue this program that is dedicated in spreading positive messaging based on the Word of God.
Oras ng Katotohanan will soon make its way on television starting August, every Sunday from 7 to 8 a.m.
If you are looking for a program that would uplift your spirit and just make you feel right deep down in your spirit, the Oras ng Katotohanan program is truly going to be a blessing to you. So I hope that you will tune in and patronize this program.
Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho. We are One News.
All right, before we let you go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote. In the midst of political chaos, doing what's right may cost you comfort, allies, or applause. But it's the only stand that history won't question. Reminder sa mga senador. Wala lang. Simple reminder
Slight
lang.
reminder.
Slight reminder lang naman, di ba? Wala man tayo sinasabi. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.